Welcome to Pivot Parenting, where we help parents of teens overcome regret and disappointment to find peace and connection in every situation. I'm Heather Frazier, your parenting expert. Journey with me to discover effective parenting tips, improve family relationships, and build a brighter future for your kids. Buckle up, things are about to get better. Hey, my friend, how's it going? Welcome to today's episode. I have therapist Ashley Hudson here with me today to discuss a requested topic from an Instagram follower. Ashley is a mother of 3 boys, a licensed teen therapist, a parent coach, and she has over 12 years of experience. Her group private practice, Ashley Hudson Therapy, is based in Orange County, California, where she focuses on empowering adolescents and young adults dealing with anxiety, depression, sports performance anxiety, grief, and parent-child relational conflicts. Drawing from her extensive experience working with thousands of teenagers, Ashley loves working with parents of teenagers and helping them connect with their teens. Ashley has created online parenting courses called The Connected Parent and Social Media, as well as Your Teen, designed to help parents establish open communication and build meaningful connections with their teens. I have put all of her links and handles in the show notes so that you don't have to write anything down right now. She is amazing, and I know that you're going to learn a lot from today's episode. So let's get started. Hey, Ashley, welcome.
Hi, I'm happy to be back.
I know it's your second appearance because you're so fabulous.
I love being here and I like talking with you, Heather. You're awesome.
Yeah, our first episode is one of my better downloaded episodes, and I think it's because we talk about really relevant parenting struggles.
Yes, absolutely.
We love our kids and we want to help them, and sometimes we want to wrangle them to help
Yeah,
them.
yes, it's real. It's so real.
Yes,
Absolutely.
today we're talking about a big topic. The acronym is ODD,
hmm
Oppositional Defiance Disorder.
Yeah.
Can you give our listeners just kind of a rundown from a clinician's description for that?
Yeah. So ODD, what it looks like is, disruptive behavior, lying and noncompliance and, verbal aggression, a lot of just behaviors in the home and even outside of the home at school that are just really difficult to manage and to work with. A lot of teenagers that I've seen that have been diagnosed with ODD, parents are at their wits' end. They don't know what to do. They're frustrated. And you can see disrespect. You see a lot of anger too in the teenagers as well. Just a resistance, a resistance for rules, a resistance to doing almost anything you want them to do. Sometimes it could also look like they'll do something if it's on their terms and uh, getting what they want out of it, essentially. So yeah, ODD is really difficult. A lot of parents really struggle, and even a lot of clinicians really struggle working with ODD as well. So it's a tough one. The defiance, the straight out defiance, and disrespect and noncompliance is hard.
Yeah. Is there usually something that kind of triggers that defiance? Like, for example, when the teenager is told no, you may not have a later curfew, you may not have more screen time, you may not go out with your friends.
Yeah, so a lot of times working with teenagers with ODD, I usually see like there's other things going on there. You're seeing anxiety, you're seeing potentially some ADHD symptoms, you're seeing depression, you're seeing possibly trauma as well. When teenagers speak out and saying no and getting aggressive, it can come from a place of they're responding in that fight or flight response, fight, flight, freeze. response. And usually it's coming from another place, a deeper place, anxiety, like I said, anxiety, depression, trauma. The other thing that I also see, and stuff that we can continue talking about on this episode, is issues with the attachment and the relationship with the caregiver and the parent. There's definitely some disruptions and disconnection going on there that's creating the non-compliance, the aggression, and the disrespect that's happening as well. I think that is
Yeah.
also playing a component.
Do teens with this diagnosis, are they more defiant with certain people like a caregiver, or have you found that it's typically spread with anybody that gets in their way of what they want, they will defy?
It's interesting that you say that. I do see it more with authority figures, like teachers or parents, caregivers. Sometimes you'll see that with law enforcement as well. And usually the people that are telling them what to do in a stern and firm voice is someone coming from an authoritative figure, right?
Uh,
From authority. So, yeah, you can see the kiddos getting triggered by that. And then they're just straight up, I'm in fight mode and I'm going to tell you no and I'm going to get what I want. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So let's say there's a disruption and
Mm-hmm.
the teenager is not getting what they want. Mom or dad has said, no, you may not have that, which pushes them into defiance.
Yeah.
What can that parent do?
I think too, let's kind of backtrack a little bit
Yeah,
is, when parents are, I think collectively we need to look at, are we constantly telling our kids what to do, right? And then two is like, have we gone over clear rules and expectations within the home, right? Sometimes when the rules aren't clear, when the expectations aren't clear and realistic, it can feel like a teenager is being told what to do all the time, or rules are just being placed randomly.
sure.
And that also, I want to ask, do we offer opportunities for teenagers to say no, right? Or is it like you need to do that this way or the highway at times? So I do think there needs to be opportunities for teenagers to say no. Is saying no to a parent, is that bad? Is that good? I think too is like, can as parents, can we offer some control and some power for some teenagers, right?
Mhm.
Where we're giving them opportunities to say no. Now, if we've come up with some clear rules, some expectations, right? Everyone's agreed upon. These rules aren't new. The teenager knows them, and then they say no anyways. It's going to be important to remind them of what's going to happen next, having clear consequences. And then guess what? Like giving the teenager the option to either follow the rules or not follow the rules and have to manage those consequences, right? And then it would be the parent's job to follow through with those consequences.
Yeah. So let's say the parent just if it's the parent saying no and not the teen. So
Yeah.
the teen is making a request.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, it's a school night, but my friends are going, an hour away to do whatever. Can I come home at midnight? And the parent says no. And then the teenager gets belligerent. And even though the teenager knows, weeknight curfew is 10 or 10:30 or whatever. So I know that I'm asking for something beyond the rule, but they still get upset. They start yelling, swearing, saying mean things.
Yeah. With that, what you're mentioning there, how I would go about is I would ask them, hey, tell me a little bit more. You understand our curfew's at 10, but you're really wanting to stay out at midnight. Tell me a little bit more about that. So I think sometimes too is parents immediately just go, no, you cannot. Instead of kind of going like, hey, what's the motivation behind staying up till midnight? because
Uh-huh.
that could also be the trigger of why they're getting defensive and why they're getting aggressive is maybe all of their friends are out till midnight and they're doing something super fun, right? Fun, quote unquote, fun, whatever that might be. And maybe I don't want to lose out. Maybe I feel left out, right?
Yeah,
If
there's
I
an
have to come.
underlying current of a need that they foresee not being met.
Exactly. And I think too is if we offer, and that's part of the connection piece, if we offer the platform of like, hey, like our agreed upon curfew is at 10:30, but you're asking for 12. So tell me a little bit more. Tell me a little bit more why you're wanting 12. What's going on? What are the activities? Right. And let's say like it seems legit and it seems okay. Well, you offered them a platform to kind of discuss the reasons why, right? Maybe a platform to negotiate or to compromise. Or you heard them out and they were seen by that. And I'm like, okay, I totally understand that you want to stay till 12. You don't want to miss out. You've been feeling left out lately with your friends, right? Okay, I hear what you're saying, that I completely understand. However, though, you can still keep that boundary.
Yeah.
And
You're a grumpy panda if you don't get
yeah,
enough sleep.
exactly.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, a lot of times I'm hearing too is parents just go like, no, you can't. And then they're done with the explanation. Instead
Uh-huh.
of, hey, no, um, I'm sorry, I know you want to stay out till 12 and I know all your friends are. And, that might be very difficult for you to kind of maybe understand or comprehend. But staying out till 12, I'm concerned for other people out at 12. If it's a possible drunk driver or that is my concern, and that's why they agreed upon um, curfew is 10:30, right? So I think too is offering some more explanation behind the no, I think is really important. And taking that extra step to do that. The other thing too is
Yeah.
there are some kids that hear the no and they just go straight like emotional dysregulated. Like,
Yes.
what?
Zero
You
to
know,
60.
0
Yeah.
to 60, right? And that's where you're going to have to keep your cool as parents. It's going to be very difficult. And you're going to have to keep your cool and say, hey, you know what? I'm noticing that you're getting pretty disrespectful and pretty upset right now. And I would like to hear more about what's happening and what's going on and why you want to stay out till midnight. But I'm going to let you calm down right now. And we can pick this back up when you're calm. And I would like to talk more about because this seems really important to you, right? Kind of noticing when they get so
Yeah.
dysregulated like that and hearing the no, it must be important and significant. So, like, hey, how about you calm down? And when you're ready to, kind of talk to me in a more respectful way, I'd be happy to hear out that, this was really important to you. And I want to hear more about where you're coming from.
Okay. And I'm just going to play devil's advocate. Does that
Sure.
actually work?
Does that work?
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
if you tell your kid, we'll talk about this when you're calmed down, they don't just say F you and walk away.
They could. I mean, they could. But you're also giving them a template of how to talk to people later. And also too is
Fair.
you're laying down some boundaries. I
Uh,
will not continue talking to you when you disrespect me,
yeah.
right? And then you're saying, "Hey, I'm noticing you're really upset. Like you're struggling with controlling your emotions right now. When you are able to regulate and control them and self-soothe, I'd be happy to talk to you about it." So then you're giving them the alternative. You're not just again just stopping the conversation right there. You're offering a replacement as well. And the replacement is when you're able to calm down, right? When you're able to control your emotions a little bit better, let's continue this conversation,
Okay.
right? And you're reinforcing that. You're reinforcing, hey, I'd be happy to have a calm conversation when you're respectful to me. Mhm.
Okay. And do you think that there's any value in having conversation when it's calm and addressing, hey, I've noticed that when we have conflict, you get really dysregulated. how can I help you ground in those moments? Or would you like to learn techniques to self-soothe and having more rational conversations around the irrational conversations?
Totally. I mean, talking to them when they're calm, I do think like with teenagers, it is like finding an appropriate time for them
Yep.
because, when they're screaming and yelling and then you're screaming back like, gosh, you're so difficult to talk to. And, why are you acting so crazy? It's not going to get through. Like, that's not going to be helpful. They didn't hear that. All you did was validate in their head that like mom's crazy right now. See, I can't talk to you about anything. And, instead of when they are calm to, okay, let's talk about this. Let's continue the conversation. But I love that, Heather, is like bringing up, hey, I've noticed that when you're asking for something and if it's a no or you don't get what you want, it's really hard for you. That's a difficult, that's a difficult thing. What can we do about that? How can we come together with that? And let's also be real, even as adults, we all struggle with not getting what we want.
It's true.
You
Yeah.
know, when
We
like
just
I'm gonna be
are more
real,
socially aware to manage until we
right?
get to our friends and they're like,
Oh yeah, when if I ask my husband like, hey, can you go to the grocery store and I'm asking a question. I mean, he has the right to say, well, no, I don't feel like going.
yeah,
And then when you hear it, you're like, oh, like
yeah.
that doesn't feel so good. But then you have to, oh yeah, I did ask. There has to be a little bit of understanding that it's going to be difficult for them to hear a no.
Yeah. And this, as you were speaking, it reminded me of, you know how we have these core memories?
Hmm.
And I don't think that I was anything out of the ordinary as a teenager. But I remember my mom worked at the junior high, and my brother and I were there. He's 2 years older than me, waiting for my mom to finish up so that we could all drive home together. And I don't remember what I said or did at all, but I remember my brother turning to me and saying, "You are such a B word." And I won't say it because I don't want to put the explicit mark on my episode, but that's what he called me. And I was so taken back. I was so shocked. And he's a pretty nice guy. Granted, we were both teenagers. And it made me think, as I've looked back on this throughout the years, did I not see myself? Was I actually being really rude, but feeling justified in my behavior?
Hmm.
And maybe that was fully warranted. Or maybe not. I don't know. I don't think swearing at somebody's ever fully warranted, but was I behaving not my best? And so looking at kids with ODD, do you think that they feel justified in their rage? Like, do you think that they can see I'm kind of being a problem and I wouldn't want to deal with me? Or do you think that they're like, I'm so angry and I have every right to be this way to you? Hi there. I just want to pause and let you know if you are struggling to make sense of your teen's behaviors, emotions are running wild, and you're looking to turn things around to have the family you dreamed of while rocking them to sleep, I would love to talk to you. I want to give you a special, powerful gift. 30 minutes with me, my friend. You'll walk away with more confidence, clarity, and understanding of what the issue is and your next best step in resolving any situation you bring to me. It's completely free. I love families and want to help yours be wildly happy and successful. Book this call by visiting my website, heatherfraser.com. Remember, Fraser is spelled with a Z-I in the middle. And don't worry, the link is also in the show notes. I look forward to meeting and helping you.
I think it's both. I think they are very at times like really angry and they do feel justified of, and they'll probably make some things, they'll have some excuses in their head of like, it's not that big of a deal. I don't know why she's saying no. I can stay out. I can do what I want. I can take care of myself. And then I do think the other piece that you were talking about, where, do they see themselves as someone who's non-compliant and who's aggressive and
Yeah.
um, who might not be, the B word. But the other issue that I had, like the interesting thing that you say there is I think there's a little bit of like a self-fulfilling prophecy is when they're, having ODD, a lot of individuals around them are labeling them as a difficult kid, as
Yeah.
a troublemaker, right? So they almost just like they they just go along and like if everyone sees me this way, I'm going to be this way,
I'll be happy
right?
to oblige.
Exactly. So then
Yeah.
it just like I'm justified and people see me this way. This must be who I am. So might as well continue.
Yeah, that makes me think of people who have commented whether or not their child is having suicidal ideation or with ODD or RAD, the parent feels very isolated because they don't want to tell anyone what's going on because they fear that their child will be judged. And what would you say to those parents?
You know what I would say is one, I don't think we could totally rescue our kids from getting judged. I think,
Fair.
we have an innate ability and our brain does categorize and our brain does, a natural instinct to
Yeah.
judge,
Label.
right? Right. And label. It's one of the things our brain does
Yep.
naturally, right? But when I read that, what I hear is I think a lot of parents isolate themselves by not telling their friends, by not seeking support from other parents for fear that will they judge my kid? Will their kid not play with my kid or hang out with my kid, right? And so what happens is or they might feel like, oh, this parent is going to judge me, and they might think like,
Yeah.
gosh, my kid is so difficult and hard, I must
What
be an
did you
awful
do to them?
parent. Right. What did you do to them, right? And
Yeah.
I just think like, you know, we get to a point where we're isolating ourselves. And if you have a kiddo that is really defiant and if has diagnosed of ODD or just have some of these symptoms, you really need support. You
Yeah.
really need such a village of people, other parents around you who get you, who understand, who are with you in that, right? And so I've seen a lot of parents who won't reach out to their mom friends or their dad friends or whatnot for fear, like, I don't want them to judge my kid. And I think too is like, can that happen? Sure, it can. But also, what could else happen is the mom friend, the dad friend can be like, hey, wow, like I went through that last week. I know exactly what you're going through. You need support. Parents need support.
I couldn't agree more. What should parents do when they have tried multiple things to help their child, therapy, whatever the teen is willing to yield to, and they're to the point where nothing has been effective and they are wondering if they should put their teen in a home to
Mhm.
help manage them, because it's so disruptive to everybody else in their own home?
Yeah, that's such a difficult decision, right? Like I
Mhm.
really feel for parents who, they see their teenager hurting and, hurting and having all these behaviors and it's such a disruption to their siblings and other people in the home. One of the things that I think needs to be just considered, like addressed, is the severity of the behaviors and the mental health issues. If it's depression and suicidality that's also involved, if there's any substance issues that are also involved. But one of the big things I think that all parents need to take into account is the safety of your other children. And what a very difficult place to be put in is where you have to make a decision of keeping the other children safe in the home
Yeah.
because the teenager is a danger to themselves and danger to the other people and their siblings in the home. Again, a very I don't wish that upon anybody, but when it does happen, you do have to make that decision regarding safety. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And linking those 2 points together about support and housing, if this is something you're contemplating, I'm sure that there's an immense weight of emotion on your back, whether that's guilt, shame, a sense of loss, a sense of failure. Um, yeah, can you speak to that aspect of the consideration?
absolutely. I mean, again, like such a difficult decision to be put in, and so many factors are coming into place, right? Where I think too, as parents, we're thinking, well, I should I try even harder? What else can I do? Right? I've tried
Yeah.
everything, and um, it might have to get to a point where you might have to put your teenager in residential treatment, where they can seek that all around support, where it's, they have a case manager, possible medication management, where they have, you know, group therapy, individual therapy, other physical activities, like developing a better lifestyle. And usually, too, I highly recommend if you are looking for a program that incorporates family therapy, because that's going to be important that when they come back home, that you're just continuing the care, right, that and
Yeah,
continuing the
you've
coping
learned
skills
the
and everything that
strategies
they
and skills to help
exactly.
support them. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so what if one parent wants to learn those strategies and skills and the other one just kind of yields to the child to make it easier in the short term?
Okay, so that's a tough one too, which I'm going to say probably is more common than usual.
Yeah,
Two is we need to understand that the other parent that might just be allowing things to happen, might be considered a pushover or taken advantage of or people pleasing or whatever. I think we need to look at the lens that they're just trying to survive,
yep,
right? They're trying to survive as well, just as much as you are. And this is maybe their only way of knowing how to survive is
yeah,
I'm just going to give them what they want. Like I can't deal with another conflict. I can't have them screaming and yelling at me, right? So I think first is we have to understand that teenagers are incredibly smart and
oh
they
yeah,
will triangulate, which means they will pin the two parents together if one
yeah,
parent or partner is more lax on the boundaries, expectations, and rules, right? And doesn't have the follow through versus the other parent. So they will be smart because everyone does this, and they will pin them and they will triangulate that, right?
yeah,
So I think it's going to be really important for the other partner to sit down, with their spouse, with their partner, and say, like, hey, I understand why this is happening because this is so hard, and come together and remind each other that both you two want the same thing. They want things to go well. They want the family to
they want
have
peace.
cohesion. They want peace, right? And to understand they're just trying to have peace is the best way possible. A lot of times when parents just allow it to happen is because they don't have the emotional support or energy to even manage those boundaries and to like deal with be real, to deal with the verbal abuse that comes after it, right? The disrespect.
Yeah,
um, and so when two parents could really sit down together, spouses sit down together and just come together of like, hey, I see you, I get this, I understand why you're doing this, you're just trying to survive. But we also need to come together and have a plan together. We need to be a united front because our kids, teenagers, even younger kids and toddlers will triangulate. They will see which one is gonna
who's the
give me the
easier parent?
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and for those of you listening who don't understand what triangulation is, I did an episode a while back. I'll post it in the show notes. It's about triangulation. But can you give us like one phrase explanation of what that is or what that looks like?
Yeah, it can, I get this all the time. Even, something super simple, but triangulation is, it can look like where one your teenager gets mad at dad for saying no, that they,
Yeah.
they couldn't go to a dance. And then the teenager goes up to mom and says, Mom, like dad said no. And it just really frustrates me and it's upsetting. And I'm just so mad at him. Right. And gosh, like, I just really, really want to go. Mom, can I go? Right. So the triangulation is looking like you're feeling like, oh, I really like want to save you. I want to help you. Like, yeah, dad wasn't good with that. Right. And then what ends up happening is like you and the teenager become aligned instead of you and the parent. And how it could look is like, hey, I understand that, that could be upsetting that, dad doesn't agree with that or dad said no with that, but I stand with dad. Me and him are, that's your dad, that's your parent. I get it. And if you're frustrated with that, hey, you know what? I highly recommend you go talk to dad about that. And then you're kind of directing your teen to resolve the conflict with the person that they have the conflict with, right? Instead
Instead of
of
be the rescuer.
exactly. Instead of all of a sudden they feel better with you and you guys are aligned and now we're both against dad. Instead
Yep.
of mom and dad need to be united and then you could validate where they're coming from, but you're also saying this is an issue that you need to talk to dad about and that you need to work with dad on. And actually, you know what? He's the parent, he's my husband, right? And we're united on that. And if dad said no, I trust the fact that he said no for a good reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're trying to, so you've got the villain, you've got the
Mhm.
rescuer, and then you've got the victim.
Right.
And they're trying to make a parent one or the other to get what they want.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is crazy. Okay. So when they aren't getting what they want, and when they are triangulating or saying unkind things or being manipulative in any of those ways, do you have any hacks for parents to not take it so personally? Like, I have failed, my child's future is doomed. Because when we approach an issue thinking I'm awful, they're awful, this is a dumpster fire, we don't typically behave our best.
Yeah,
Do you have
totally.
any hacks to not take it personally?
I think too is like understanding that your teenager's behavior doesn't define you as a parent, that your teenager does have responsibility, right? But they have to take responsibility for their actions. And when you make it define, like when you define it as your own, it takes the responsibility off them, the accountability, right? So what that could look like is if they are, yelling in your face and being disrespectful, it's super important that to kind of like even what I how to help with that is you got to kind of detach a little bit
Uh-huh.
in the sense of um, one, be prepared that more than likely your teenager is going to say something that they know your hot spots.
Oh, they know.
They, oh, they
They know
know.
how
I
to
mean,
fight
and I think,
dirty.
oh yeah, yeah, absolutely, right. And they know your hot spots. They know how to play dirty with you, and it's going to be important to prepare yourselves. Like my kid's gonna like, they know what buttons to press, right?
Yep.
So one, first and foremost, is to stay calm. Stay calm and remind yourself, I'm a good parent. I'm doing this to prepare him or her for a good future. I have to stick my boundaries, right? Well, I have to teach them respect, which means I have to be respectful in this conversation,
Mm-hmm.
right? And to be that template, to be that role model, I'm going to show them. And with that is there's got to be a little bit of detached. Sometimes we can be too absorbed, and with that we're just absorbing all of their anger and you know all of their anxiety and all of their rage, and those hot spots are just so tender. And then all of a sudden after that conversation we're looking in the mirror and we're like, gosh, like I am that. I didn't do that well, and I feel like I failed as a parent. So I think too is one, we got to detach a little bit. We got to remind ourselves that, I want to be a good parent, and this is how I'm going to be a good parent. I'm going to stay calm. even in the midst of this disrespect, I'm going to hold my boundaries. I'm going to have a firm voice, but I'm going to still be compassionate and calm, right? And then, yeah, it's hard. Easier
And
said
then
than
go cry in the shower, right?
done. Exactly. And then, you take care of yourself. This is why, again, it's so important to take care of yourself, because if you're not taking care of yourself, those buttons are so
Yes.
easily pushed, right? The other thing that you were kind of mentioning too is, if if they're being so disrespectful and rude, and what to do there, right? If they are
Um,
getting physical, and that moment, if it's like verbal aggression or starting to get in your face, is I tell parents, you need to stop engaging from then on, because any at that point when they're so heightened emotionally and they're so dysregulated emotionally, nothing's getting through, right? They're just seeing red
yeah.
at that point. And you're going to have to, I tell parents to disengage and say, we're going to talk about this at another time, and turn around and walk off, because yeah, it could turn into something ugly.
Yeah. All right. Before we wrap up, do you
Mhm.
have any other insights, words of wisdom for parents dealing with this?
Yeah, I think, thinking back on some of my clients that I've worked with, some of the parents, is I want to say, like, it is really difficult. It could feel like a no win situation. And um, I think really focusing on the relationship and the connection with your kid, I think, is first and foremost, right? We have to start, everyone sees your kid as this troublemaker, this bad kid, this disruptive kid, this challenging kid, right? And we
Yeah.
have to see the kid for underneath what's going on. And maybe sometimes we might have to look at, like, how are they, like, with their friends, or when you see them with other just regular people, right? But we have to start seeing our kids, like, their hearts and what's going on there. Then at that point is, where is their anxiety, where is their depression, where is their trauma, and help in that aspect. But definitely, it's the relationship, it's the connection. We have to start building that trust and that respect. And with that is, offering some, moments where they can say no,
Mhm.
giving some moments, some opportunities for control, and allowing some natural consequences for things too as well.
Yeah. I love natural consequences.
I love natural consequences, and that can be really, really difficult for parents, and natural consequences, even discussing, like, like I said, like saying no to a midnight. I can see, like, set upon 10:30, and that was already stretching it, right? And then you have this kid coming in like, midnight, I'm coming home at midnight. And you're just like, no, you're not. What? We've already done 10:30. And that's that was already pushing it, right? But I think too is, letting them know I love you, and it's not that I don't think you'll be safe at 12. Maybe not, I don't know. But it's more like I'm concerned for your safety with other people. Being out at 12, is there's a higher risk for, getting hit by a drunk driver or something safety wise happening at those hours, right? And discussing the concern behind that, instead of your kid just thinking they're saying no for no, or your kid's just thinking, mom saying no again, doesn't care about me, doesn't want me to, I'm trapped in prison at home, kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Thank you. Ashley, how can listeners find you? What exciting things are going on in your world?
Oh, what exciting things are happening. I feel like just all over the place. But no, if you're in California and you live in California and your teenager needs any sort of therapy services, mental health therapy services, I do have a group practice with some amazing teen therapists that are so passionate about working with teens. We have therapists that help with eating disorders and trauma, depression, anxiety, and sport performance anxiety for all the athletes out there. So that's in the state of California. You could reach us at www.ashleyhudsontherapy.com. And then also, I do parent coaching on the side as well. And I have a self paced course on how to get reconnected with your teenager and build that relationship again. And that's at illuminateyourconnection.co.
Okay, and those links I will put in the show notes for everybody
Okay.
who is not hands-free right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather, for having me. I always love talking with you. You're awesome.